Hello everybody, Morgan Sylver here with the Sylver Mask Project, and I have a pretty cool video for you all today. There should be a chapter showing when the main part of the video starts, but if not, skip to the timestamp that's on screen now. To start, you may notice that my mic sounds quite a bit clearer than it did my first couple videos. I actually got a new mic the day after I streamed for the first time, but I've been too busy to record another video. Definitely not distracted by ADHD. I am obviously not sponsored, but the mic I'm using is the HyperX Solocast. It was pretty cheap for the sound quality that comes out of it. So I'll put a link in the description for anyone who might be interested in getting a pretty good mic for the price. It's, again, not sponsored at all, just like the product, so I thought I might as well point out what it is. You might also notice that now I have little earrings. I finally figured out how to edit my models. I originally made them in VRoid Studio and couldn't really edit them, or didn't really know how to edit them, I guess. Mostly because I didn't know how to put them into Blender. But I found a plugin that allowed me to import them and export them and edit them now. You might notice they lock up occasionally as I shake my head around, but generally it works, so that's pretty nice. I'll also put a link to both VRoid Studio and my plugin that I found for anyone who might want to try out VTubing. It's completely free, so why not? It's pretty cool technology. As long as you have a webcam, you can use it. So, okay, if you want to try it. Now then, that out of the way, I'm going to get into the meat of the video. This video is the first part in a series where I'm going to show you as I build a first-person shooter, what my process is and what the code I'm using is. Some of it would be specified to this project, obviously, but you might still find it useful to know. So in this video, I'll be showing you how to create a line trace based shooting system. So basically from the gun, or in this case actually the camera, a line is drawn out from the character when you shoot, and that acts as the projectile instead of the standard tennis ball gun that you might originally get in a first-person shooter blueprint. I know it's pretty basic, but I'm sure many people will find it helpful, and I know there's a lot of tutorials on this out there, but I figured I'd start with this, and then as I keep building this out, there'll be more specified stuff for anyone who might be more likely to find that useful. So let's get right into it. As you can see here, I'm just in the basic first-person template map. I do obviously plan on having a custom map. You may notice as time goes on that I will have a full map out of the game as time goes on, like including the entire map. But for now, just while developing my mechanics, it'll just be here. So I already have it, as always, programmed. As many might know, I don't like to, unlike other YouTubers who show how to do stuff, I don't actually build it out as much in it. I have the entire thing built and I walk you through how I did it. So you can kind of see the full thing, and then you can see each step. So, pick up this gun, and normally when you shoot, it shoots a tennis ball. However, in this, it now shoots this ray trace line, which you can have do stuff like impart the impulse. Same as tennis ball. I also use the same exact code as tennis ball, or same exact node as tennis ball for adding an impulse. But it allows you to do a little bit of fun things and shows an example of how it can actually affect stuff. And in future videos, I will show you how to add make it so that it actually does like damage to an AI or even to other players. But as this isn't a multiplayer game, at least not yet, that one's a little bit more iffy, as that requires other stuff. So let's get into the this happens, don't worry about it. It's just when you shoot the map, the impulse, sometimes it doesn't like that. So this is pretty simple. All you're pretty much going to need is, if you're in UE5, there's this new thing called the weapon component. You might notice in a lot of UE4 tutorials that they're like, oh, go into the first person character. But with UE5, for some reason, they decided that there we go. They decided, so with UE5, they decided that it wasn't good, that the regular one wasn't good enough. So now they have an entire thing where you walk forward and pick up the gun, which is kind of annoying, frankly, for development, because it messes up a whole bunch of stuff as far as like figuring out what's the right blueprint to go into. Because as you can see here, the first person blueprint has nothing to do with the gun, as far as shooting the gun does. And the pickup rifle, which is basically just that rifle that's floating there, is also nothing to do with shooting. So anyone who might be trying to figure this out might be a little bit confused, especially if they were going off a UE4 tutorial. So instead, you actually have to go to this BP weapon component. Now, as you can see here, this is the entire thing all here. Normally, you have this, the enhanced input action. Basically, what this is just, close these because they aren't useful. What this is just like the actual action of clicking your right mouse or left mouse button shoots the gun. It's simple, but that's basically what it is. This is just the input action, which is just shoot, and that just means, and you can assign that different stuff obviously, but in default it's left mouse button. So these two things right here, these are default things. Obviously, if you have custom, like a custom model for your gun and sounds, you might change these. However, I've actually found that you can actually pretty much take the gun, like the actual blueprint for the gun, and just swap it out, as long as it has like the skeleton for it. Actually, no. If you just take the blueprint for the gun and switch and add your own custom skeletal mesh right here, it'll pretty much just work, and the montage, which is the actual gun like kickback, will still work just fine. Also, we'll see how that works out. If you notice a change in my quality of the background stuff, it's because I forgot to switch on my green screen. I have a separate green screen and background button, and I accidentally kept it on the background. Okay, though, I should be able to cut it out. Anyways, so this is all default stuff. It's actually I believe, right, like there's like this little area has like a bunch of like directional stuff to tell where to spawn the projectile, actually, like the tennis ball launcher gun. This tells it like, oh, there's like a bunch of stuff here that says like get the location of the socket in the front of the gun. I originally had it here and then moved it, and then was like, oh, I don't actually need it, and deleted it, but I thought I needed it, so I moved it. Really, there'd be a bunch of stuff here just telling it like, oh, shoot this ball from the front of the gun, and then take that same information and play these things from that thing, that location, like after that. So that's pretty much it. It's just a default thing. It plays the gun sound. You can actually change this if you want to like any sound. There's like a bunch of them. It's like you can even have it where it does this. Like, I don't know why you would, but you make it do a car crash. But now then, after you get through that, this is where we actually get into the meat of this entire thing. This is a line trace by channel. What that means is basically it takes and draws a line from wherever you say it starts to wherever you say it ends. And then if there's something in between there, it will take and put out a hit. So if it hits a specific thing, if it hits anything really, actually, any object, I believe, it will set it off. So it will take and be like, oh, I hit something that is detectable. I believe it's something that actually has a collision on. If it has collisions on, then it can hit it. So basically, if it runs something that has collisions on, it will tell you. So this is where we get in the meat of everything. We have this line trace by channel, right? And we have to tell it where to start shooting from, right? The gun. We want to shoot the end of the gun. However, that is not exactly true. Because of the way that Unreal works, obviously, with the gun placement, it's actually like off, kind of. Like the angle of the gun, if I go here and hit play, and go in here and hold it, you can see that the gun's sitting in the bottom right. But where it's pointing is kind of like out, not really. I think it's like over here somewhere. I once put it on in the gun, and then it was like shooting like out over here, which isn't exactly where you want this to shoot. You obviously could get used to it, but normally you want the reticle right in the center so that you can do this and have it shoot like straight in the middle of the screen, so you can't like see the line until you move, basically. So it always hits right in the middle of the screen. So instead of it coming from the gun, you actually want it coming from the camera, because as long as you have like, basically, as long as if you're having a like effect come from the gun, like actual projectile, you could still have it come from the gun. There'd be a whole different script for that, and maybe I'll do that in the future. But right now, you just need it from the camera. So what we do here is we get the first-person character, which is actually right here. It should already be default. You would just drag it in, get first-person character. And then right here, this is the first person camera. So you just get first person camera. And it's right here, right at the bottom. And so it does the same thing. You got this. So now you have where the camera is. Now what you need to do is you need to actually get where the camera is. So what you need to do is you just need to drag out here, and right, like it says there, is get world location. Right there. So it goes in here, goes to the get world location, and goes up into start, because that just tells it, oh, take the gun, or take the camera, get where it is, and start the line there. Now, what you need is to get where it's going. To do this, you actually need get forward vector. It should just be exactly that right here. Get forward vector. Just drag off and search that up. So, get forward vector, when you put that in, it actually equals a centimeter. A single centimeter away from the player. If it got rid of all this and just dragged this straight up here, it would just, I can actually show you, draw a line right in front of the player. Actually, sorry, it's not exactly true. It draws out a line. I don't actually know why it's doing that. It should draw out a line to that, but whatever. So, not sure why that does it. It should just draw a line straight away, but it doesn't matter. It works with this plugin, with this other stuff. So, you have this get forward vector, right? It's coming out first person camera, which means draw a line away from it. Specifically directly away from where it's facing, which is straightforward. Then we have it go into a times thing, Now that's not the important part. The really important part here is this little thing right here. This is a variable. What you do is, it is not going to be in your thing at first. You're going to have to add it. It's just right here, this little thing. Hit plus, it creates a variable. Just create a not boolean, but float, and you can call it anything you want. I call it range because that's what it's for. So once you have this range variable, you just get that, and then take this, take it, and plug it into a times, which you can literally just go here and hit the little star above the 8. It's called a, I don't remember what it's called, but that little thing there, that will actually get you shift 8, it's multiply, and it gets you right there, and bam, you get the same thing. Basically you just want to take that, plug it into times, and it looks green, but once you plug the, but you should be able to plug the forward vector straight into the other node, so it does like this, and that'll multiply them together. So instead of being wherever it was going, now it's actually getting a range on how far to go. And then what you need to do is just add this to where it was starting, because it needs to actually tell like where it's supposed to be, like where it needs, that endpoint needs to know where the start is also. So it takes and gets that. Once you add those two together, the world location and this forward vector, you take that and add it right up into the end. So that makes sure that you can have the start and an end. So it knows to shoot in a straight line away from the character. This range, I have it set to just like a gazillion. It doesn't matter. Really, at first, you can adjust it as like you might want more like differentiating between guns, like a shotgun versus sniper rifle kind of thing. But generally, you can just set it to a crazy high amount when you're first figuring this out. Just make sure it works, so you don't end up with a thing like, oh, it only shoots 10 feet forward, so it doesn't, like, you're not hitting something because it doesn't actually reach there. Just set it to a super high number and then adjust it later if you really want to. This is also something you want to do. This should draw a line out, but you may have started shooting and nothing happened. What you need to do is you need to make sure to set this trace channel. This right here is a very, very, very important part. Set the visibility to, or sorry, not this one. This is the most important part. I am dumb. You take the draw debug type. This is the most important part because otherwise you can't actually see the line trace, which is kind of important. And normally it's on none, but you want to set it for duration, and you want to set this to ignore self. And if you really want, you can change the trace colors by this little button down here. And you may notice that your thing doesn't exactly look like mine. In fact, if I take these and just get rid of these, I can fix them later. Take these and recombine structure pin. This is what yours looks like, right? That's because you have this little thing here called out hit. You want to right click on that and split it. Now it has these multiple split places where you can finally actually start changing things. So this is where you want to add a bit of a debug thing. What I like to do is I like to take a from here called out hit actor. So when it hits an actor or an object in our game, you take and drag it out and just get display name right here. Get display name. So once you have the display name, you just drag it into a print string so that it prints it into your console so that it tells you what you're shooting. It can actually, this will actually be useful later in debugging, especially if you have friendlies. Like if you're trying to shoot like someone that's good and someone's bad, you can do that. You'd actually use, I believe, the out hit bone name, and then it'll tell what it is. Basically, if you have like a good guy, bad guy, and if they have like, oh, good guy, don't do damage, bad guy, do damage. But yeah, so it'll tell you that. But for now, you just need this, get display name and print string, And then this is the kind of fun thing I just added because, hey, why not? Is just an add impulse application. I believe there's some, yeah, it's not radial impulse, just add impulse application. And then what you do is you want to make sure the target, instead of being self, is just this hit component. So when it hits something that can actually be moved, it'll move it. And then the impulse, which is like the force that's applied, is just straight down to the forward vector. And you'd think that'd be it'd be a huge difference, but actually, as you saw, it doesn't really do too much. But if I change this range up to like way higher, then it started to get into like ridiculous things where it start kind of knocking things around. And yeah, it hits them so hard it actually deletes them. It doesn't actually, it just bounces them so fast that the rendering engine breaks. So yeah, let me just change that, take that down like 2. It should actually be visible, hopefully. Yeah, now it just knocks things like crazy and lags out. But now it's kind of a little bit more fun. Whee, bye. But yeah, so you may notice these. If you add that, this is not breaking your actual line trace. What this is just the yellow ones are warnings where if you shoot the level, its mobility is set to none, so you can't actually move it, which makes sense. You wouldn't really want to be able to move your level around. That could probably break it. So it's like, hey, if you want to move it, you can actually see here it says has to be set to movable if you want to add impulse. And the red ones are just it saying, hey, I'm trying to apply a impulse here. It's not hitting anything, so when you shoot it in the sky, it's not going to hit anything, and then just kind of go off into nothingness. And it's like, hey, I tried to do something, it didn't work. What? Which is an error, of course, but it doesn't really do anything. It just is basically it's just telling you it's not working. It is. It's just not supposed to do anything. But it doesn't know that. You could probably fix that by just having a true or false, having a Boolean thing here where you have it go out hit component true, I think, or maybe not that, but blocking hit. If it goes out hit, blocking hit, true, then add impulse. I believe that would fix it. Like if you just take this and do out hit, bam, and go to branch and true. That should fix that actually. Yep, that fixes it. So now if it shoots out and shoots at nothing, it doesn't matter because you'll still get warnings because it doesn't want to move it, but it gets rid of that error. And actually that is something good to do anyways, because you don't want it to enact damage if it doesn't hit anything, because sometimes that can break it, or other things can break it. So just do out hit, blocking hit, and set it to true, add this. I've actually done a thing in the past where I had this, I had like a grenade launcher type thing, or it was a rocket launcher type thing, but I wanted to explode after a certain distance if it didn't hit anything. So it shot out this, add, and then if it hit something, blew up, right? But it was like, well, what happens if you shoot it? It just flies out forever, and then you could end up lagging out your game actually, because you could shoot basically an infinite amount and they wouldn't despawn. So this just caused them to explode after a certain distance, which is basically optional. Though you do have to be careful of you do have to have a thing where if you had it destroy actor or something, there's a couple other things you have to add, but I can cover those in another video. So that is it. Sorry for rambling on there at the end, but just adding a little bit of an addendum. This should be a pretty basic line trace gun. There's a lot of different ways you can move out from this, such as doing damage. Instead of adding an impulse at location, you can have it change, like you have it casting to like the character's health, like, oh, it hits a character, then do this much damage to a float vector which has their health in it. But that's another episode in this series, actually, but another episode. So that's it for this episode. That's it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I'll try to keep updating the series as I develop this game. So hit that subscribe button and bell if you want to keep seeing that content and other future content. It won't just be FPS, but that's what I'll be kind of working on for now, as this is kind of what I'm focused on in my free time anyway, so might as well share it with you guys. Hopefully I will actually be able to keep up with these videos now, because I kind of fell off a little bit with this, mostly because my ADHD kind of got to me and I had trouble with it. I've actually found that planning out videos, like planning out what I'll be doing and writing it all down, like as a kind of script, but just kind of a general flow thing that I can follow, helps a lot with creating a video, because I can kind of be like, oh, I have it written, I'm not actually filming it, I'm just focusing on writing it, and then once I've written, I'm like, oh, hey, why don't I just record that? Because it seems way easier, and my ADHD doesn't seem to pick up on that. So I actually enjoy it and I do it. Hopefully with this in the forefront of my mind anyways, this project, I'll be recording more videos anyways. But you guys can check out my other videos. My first one is much smoother and understandable for any of you that have not seen it, as my second video is a VOD of my first stream, and that one's a little bit more chaotic, and I believe I left for like 5 minutes, actually I think it's like 10 minutes during the stream. I had to like answer a call or something like that, like an important call, so that one's a little bit more disjointed, and there are some good stuff that I cover in it, and I definitely walk through a couple of the things I was working on at the time, so you might learn something from it, but that one's much harder to understand. The other one, though, does have a bunch of good points that I think a lot of people could get some benefit from. So go check those out if you're interested. I do have a website, subreddit, and a Twitter. I'll link them in the description. They're pretty bare right now. Obviously, I don't really have a lot of content and or a big community right now. But I hope to grow this community to be a lot more of a like a community where you can go to find to learn about coding, and like coding games, designing games, coding websites, like anything really coding and stuff about gaming, all that. I hope it's just a nice learning place. I hope to grow a community that is good for learning, I guess, the way I like to say it, because I love learning, so why not help others? But yeah, go check that out if you're interested. But I think that's it for right now. So this is so yeah, I think that's it. Morgan Sylver signing off.